All right. The other news, and I had Nick prep another image for this, another Photoshop for us. Didn't know if this was going to lead. Turns out it didn't. But, Jared, Doug McIntyre of Fox Sports reported that Oguchi Onyewu, one of our favorite ever U.S. men's national team defenders, is up for the sporting director job with U.S. Soccer. And, I asked Nick to put together something for me. Have you seen Walking Tall with The Rock? With
No,
Dwayne Johnson?
I haven't seen that either, but
Don't you
I'm
think this
familiar
works,
with it
though?
at least. No,
This
works.
works.
Oh,
this
yeah.
works. Okay.
If there's no American soccer player, you could put the head on the body of The Rock and come at least somewhat close, other than Oguchi Onyewu. Maybe DK. DK might be able to pull
now. DK now. But Gooch
DK
is taller
now.
than Gooch is taller than DK, I think. Well, I'd have to check on that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm way off. But anyway, I also like this because, man's carrying a 2x6 or whatever that is. He's walking into town.
Yeah,
and,
that's for the Reina parents. That's how he deals with
after
them.
the whole Reina thing. I mean, we're talking metaphorical violence, not actual violence. But after the whole Reina Berhalter thing, we're cleaning up the town, right? We're cleaning up.
But okay, I'm going to play
Gooch.
devil's advocate on this because, first of all, I'm intrigued. But is Gooch truly a different direction than what U.S. soccer has done in the past in terms of converting players to these roles?
Okay.
He's definitely a different generation, a different style.
Yes, different
that
generation.
is true. But
The
it
next
is in the
generation
same
after those
path
guys.
of walking.
I think that, and this is just, and man, I can't remember if I've ever interviewed the guy, and that's not really going to be a full reflection of his personality and who he is, but he seems like a very thoughtful guy. He's always
Very
come across
prepared.
as a
He
very
always seems
intelligent
Yeah.
guy. Absolutely. I don't think he's taking shit off of anybody. Like, I really don't. He's going to, I can only imagine.
You see how he looked at Jerry Borghetti?
If somebody tries, I wish we had that picture. I can only imagine if somebody texts him about, hey, my kid's not playing. Can you do something about this? I mean,
Yeah, I can
come
tell you
on.
to get fucked. Like, to get out of here.
Whoa. Yeah, we're okay. I just don't think I think in that way, I like this idea. I will say though, it is just barely enough
It's tough.
experience.
You like it for, I think, surface reasons. Like when you ask yourself now, he's experienced at the top levels. Yes, he does, both international and club. He has that experience. He understands how the leagues in the world work, the structures in the world work. But if you're comparing him to some other people that were potential candidates, for example, Peter Vermees passed. Who else passed? Ernst Tanner passed. You can't say that they don't have more executive experience than Oguchi Onyewu. I think Oguchi's executive experience is extended just to the B level of Orlando. I think.
And
Orlando
Belgium.
B.
He was in Belgium for about 16 months at a second division club.
So is it enough to make the case? Yes, but we're talking about maybe Thierry Henry levels of experience. Like if we were crapping on Thierry Henry, and you were more than me, but if we were crapping on Thierry Henry, this is the Thierry Henry version of the technical director job. You like everything about the person, you like everything about what they seem, but it is a what's it called? Like
See, I don't have any real issue with this potential hire if we're talking only
a cult of personality. I'm sorry, that's what I was trying to say.
U.S. men's national team and maybe even U.S. women's, right? Because I know this obviously whoever gets hired as sporting director is going to have a direct role in hiring the general manager and the head coach of the U.S. men's national team. And okay, so in that way, yes, I it's not that I worry. I think Oguchi Onyewu could be as equipped as anybody to find a head coach for the U.S. men's national team. He'd have to sell it to certain guys. He obviously have to figure out what the pool looks like, what the profile of the coach looks like. Obviously, general manager, too. We have an in-place women's national team general manager, Kate Markgraf, who, by the way, should be a candidate for the sporting director job, too, right? Like, she has to be in the mix
assuming
somewhere.
she would want it.
I mean, she's internal, so I'm not sure we get
it looks like it's a pay cut.
Well, I mean, I no, from general manager to sporting director, it wouldn't be.
You're right. She has McBride's job. Excuse me, not
right. She's similar to McBride, and obviously the women's team, for whatever reason, getting less. The executive, the leadership gets paid less. Blacko gets less than Greg by a significant amount. I don't know that it's necessarily there that I have an issue. It's the youth national team stuff, and sort of running that sort of ongoing technical effort. This job is less day-to-day, right, than a club job. So it's not the same as being.
I don't know. The youth stuff's going on at all times. It's never like there's a day off with the youth
They're
stuff.
scouting at all times. They're running camps
There's
pretty
academies
consistently.
running all the time.
Well, they're not running academies anymore, but
not
I see
academies.
what
You know what I mean, though. Like there's constant things. I think that is probably the most day-to-day part of the job is the youth portion. And it still remains to be seen if there's going to be a general manager position or not.
Feels unfair to say it because general manager will be more directly day-to-day involved in the U.S. men's national team, the senior level stuff. But it seems unfair to say it because I don't even really know. And maybe Gooch has maybe he's outlined his vision. Maybe he's presented. He's interviewed. I don't know. Would you trust him when it comes to the youth national team stuff? More than Ernie Stewart? Less than Ernie Stewart? Where?
I mean, at least Ernest Stewart came from a Philly background and a Dutch background, both of which are fantastic at building youth.
And a lot of club experience before he took that
so
job.
there is that. Now, what Gooch does have is that he is a product of the U.S. national team youth system. I mean, he played in Bradenton. He came up through that Project 2010 class. Like, he knows that part of it. Does that mean he can manage it? I don't know. And no one will know until he gets in there. It is a big question mark, bigger than a lot of the names that we've been talking about. But let's make no mistake about it. If Gooch is getting the job, it is cool. It's intriguing, but it also is third tier of options. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It is probably third tier of options.
It's in terms of his experience, absolutely.
When you talk about some of the other names that have already turned down the job, the Peter Vermeeses, the Ernst Tanners, there are higher profile people that would be more cut and paste than a Gooch would. But Gooch's ceiling, I think, could be higher. Just like when we talked about Thierry Henry,
that's the thing.
The ceiling could be higher, but the floor is lower.
A job that you give to somebody with that limited experience ahead of a World Cup in the United States for the men's team. And obviously the U.S. women's team already prepped and raring to go for a World Cup this summer, but you're going to be on top. You're going to be, in charge of that too moving forward and keeping them, at the top or above the rest of the world. There's going to be pressure in that situation. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think that the link between Gooch, who told Doug McIntyre that he wasn't going to comment on it, I don't know that this says that there's not better options in the pool right now, but again, people are mentioning the fact that Vermees and Tanner turned down the opportunity to interview. It says it shows that it's not an attractive job. I think that's more circumstantial. I think Peter Vermees is a guy who's super comfortable where he's at, and probably doesn't want to blow up the project in Kansas City. And I think
let's do our classic pick or poison here, and just let's find out exactly where he is in this. It actually is becoming more of a Marco Polo kind of situation, like feeling the depth of the pool a little bit here.
Yeah, I don't have that drop anymore.
That's
don't
okay.
do that anymore.
Oguchi Onyewu or Chris Klein?
Oguchi Onyewu. I know that's recency bias, and Chris Klein's got way more experience, but he's in a business role and really has been. He jammed Peter Vahanis between him and the club. Frank who was Teclosa was in there. He was running the soccer side. Chris was on
Don't
the
give him a
business
pass.
side.
He sucks. Keep going. You made the right call. Oguchi Onyewu or Chris Henderson?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. Now, Chris, he was second in command in Seattle. He's now got the con down in Miami. He's got experience, a bit of the national team
higher
program.
level experience.
Chris Henderson over Gooch. First, I think that's a no-brainer. Sorry, I think
Chris Henderson or John Thornton.
I think I would still take Henderson, but it'd be pretty
I think
close.
I would too, but it's close. I think the fact that Henderson has been able to go under, he's a Lagerwey prodigy. Like that's the kind of thing that everyone knows. Gard Lagerwey is the gold standard right now in terms of club level executives. So Chris Henderson having success after coming in under Garth Lagerwey, I think that's a really interesting. John Thornton is doing amazing things with LAFC, but I still, for some reason, Chris Henderson, it seems a little bit more appealing to me, and I'm not sure why, but I think it's very close. But I do think that when I said Gooch is like third tier, like we talked about, because you have the Vermees and you have the Lagerwey and you have the Ernst Tanner, which is tier 1. I think you have the Thornton and Henderson tier 2, and then you have Gooch, which is a very close tier 3 in that, and it's really experience that's making the difference there.
I mean, Gooch does have some experience in a club executive role, right? So he kind of is separate. I'm just saying he's separated from his peers from his national team era in that. And by the way, doesn't have to be a men's national team player, former men's national team player.
No.
It could be a former women's national team player, to
but
be honest
you
with
see
you.
the direction. I mean, U.S. Soccer is showing their hand a little bit. You see what they're going with. You know who they're talking to or who they tried to talk to. It is going the route of staying in this vein of former players.
Well, it's in the... Well, if you throw Tanner in there, what I think the common theme is people who are familiar with American soccer.
Yeah.
Right. Are familiar with the cultural elements and the makeup and all of those, the structures. Right.
This one from the chat, because we did miss this one. Oguchi Onyewu or Carlos Bocanegra?
I still take Boca over Gooch right now. I know. Look, I know the shine is off in Atlanta, and I'm not saying he's made good personnel decisions, but he wouldn't be making personnel decisions for the U.S. men's
But is
national team.
Bocanegra in tier 2, or is he just above Gooch in tier 3?
It's probably at the top of tier 3 above Gooch,
Okay.
I would think, based on experience.
Hey, listen,
right?
the only reason I'm going to agree with you is because your boy wants a guy from the IE in that position.
Okay, so what I think is tough with Boca, right? Another guy I like, a guy I think is smart, has he lost all the credit for what happened with Atlanta in the first couple years of that franchise? Is everybody saying, "Oh, that wasn't him at all"? That had nothing to do with him. That was Darren Eales.
MLS is filled with executives that got a couple years right. There's not many people that can have established longevity. That's why Garth Lagerwey stands above so many other people. Different teams, same result. I mean, year after year after year after year. And that's not to say that a club coach, a club GM, needs to be the national team GM. It's just what we have as a sample.
It's kind of the natural place to go with your thought process is to a club executive in the American soccer circle, because otherwise you're kind of just randomly picking a club from abroad or you're randomly picking names out of the hat. I mean, I don't know that I would have thought of Oguchi Onyewu as a candidate until his name came up. I don't think I would. It wouldn't have been obvious to me that he should be in the mix.
It's just the poise that he has. Every time he speaks on American soccer, I always feel it's so well thought out and so well.
He knows what he's talking about. But whether he can put
he's
that
deliberate.
into action.
He's very deliberate in his thought process, and I love how he has stood up for the things he finds to be ethically correct. That he's not shy about championing the fact that there's not enough representation for African American players.
Absolutely.
He is very good about taking that into account. And U.S. Soccer doesn't have a great track record with these things, where the women's causes, the Latino the representation, African American representation. It would be good to bring someone in that potentially can help U.S. Soccer start taking that next step into understanding that they've kind of sucked at this for 40, 50 years.
Yeah, it's that.
And
is
also,
that
it's a generation closer than McBride was or anything like that to the people that are now going to be playing at the highest level of the U.S. national team. Those guys watched Gooch play. They probably didn't watch Ernie Stewart play. The guys that you're talking to now, like there is a closer cultural element there.